Welcome to part two of lesson three, the Cantillon effect versus quantity theory of money. Richard Cantillon's essay, written in the early 1730s and circulated before his murder, is a foundational work in economics, drawing on his varied career. It reveals how money enters an economy and unevenly affects prices and wealth distribution. Born in County Kerry, Ireland, likely in the late 1600s, Cantillon, an Irish Catholic, overcome prejudice in France and Britain. Beginning as a Paris bank clerk and leveraging family commerce ties, he gained financial expertise. During the War of the Spanish Succession, 1701 to 1714, he managed British military payments in Spain, witnessing money's influence on markets, prices, exchange rates, and specie flows. Specie is just another name for coins, money. He brokered government contracts, speculated in grain via futures and arbitrage, and invested in land across England, Ireland, and France to hedge currency risk. In overseas trade, he financed voyages, carrying colonial goods, embodying his view of entrepreneurs as risk bearers. Cantillon profited from the Mississippi Bubble, 1719 to 1720, benefiting from share speculation and currency fluctuations while opposing John Law's inflationary policies. His counter-speculation led to his expulsion from France, marking him as a shrewd opportunist. Cantillon's money theory challenges the quantity theory of money developed by Jean Bodin and David Hume, which holds that long-run changes in money supply proportionally affect prices and wages without altering real output or employment. Cantillon viewed the long run as a sequence of short-run periods, tracing how a one-time money injection flows through financiers, merchant producers, and laborers. Crucially, the entry point of the new money matters. Early recipients gain advantages while others face delayed or negative effects. By the end, distributional effects stabilize. Quantity theory of money explains aggregate long-run outcomes but obscures who benefits from monetary expansion. The Cantillon effect highlights both these distributional impacts and the short-run effects of money injections. To do the comparison, you will build an Excel simulation to analyze the effects of a one-time money injection, such as a large gold discovery back in King Louis's time, or, in today's world, the Federal Reserve digitally increasing First Bank of Brunel's balance in exchange for bonds. It will compare the quantity theory of money with the Cantillon effect. To construct the model, format your worksheet to match the table below. Input cells light blue, comparison cells pink, goal seek cells light green and gray. Enter the labels and the numbers as shown in the table, which are explained below. You want to have Excel looking like this. I'm going to copy this, everything in the table, and then I'm going to copy something outside the table to preserve the table structure. I'm going to go over here to A1. I'm going to right click and click on Match Destination Formatting. Now I'm going to delete the first column because that corresponds to the row numbers here. So I don't need this column here. I'm going to make it look like what I see here. All of this down here is blue. I'm going to click on all borders, and then I'm going to add the color blue. Looks like, what about this color? Maybe a little lighter. I'll go to custom. That looks pretty good. Then hit OK. Then I'm going to do the same thing down here from real estate to staples. Click that and then click the border. Then I'm going to do the same thing here. All borders, that light blue that it shows. In the cell below aggregate, I got to change that to a light color red. All borders. I need to do the same to price level under percent change. Under final to velocity, I need borders. Under aggregate in the price level row, I need borders. I'm going to change this one to gray and change this one to a light green. That looks pretty good. I went through and auto-fit my columns by double-clicking between column C and D. You can auto-fit. It's right there. My numbers are going to vary from your numbers. My initial money supply is 326,628 pounds sterling. The value of the gold that was found in the gold mine in a colony and brought to King Louis, in my model, 77,400. The initial output of the economy is 12,900. Real estate is 4,300. Initial luxury goods is 4,300. Initial staple goods is 4,300. Prices months before the money is injected into the economy were 100. The substitution constant is 146 units. Money velocity is 3.95. In row 13, for financiers who get the money in month zero, they spend about 71% of their income on real estate, 25% on luxuries, and they only spend 4% on staples. When you're really, really wealthy, living expenses, basic living expenses like food and whatnot, is a very small portion of your income. Merchants spend about 11% of their income on staples, 33% on luxuries, and 56% on real estate. Rural elites spend about 50% of their money on real estate, 35% on luxuries, and 15% on staples. Then the poorest of them all are the commoners. And by the time they get the money in month three, prices have already gone up. Staples represent 85% of their income. Luxury is only 14%, and real estate is 1%. So those are all the assumptions of my spreadsheet model. And again, yours are going to be different. Some of the stuff needs to be explained. In cell A13, it's labeled financiers at T equals 0. What that means is the gold that is found by the kingdom passes through the hands of financiers first. So they're going to get this money first, and they're going to make a bunch of purchases before prices have a chance to go up. When they buy stuff, they're buying stuff from maybe merchants. So merchants get the money at the end of month zero, and they spend it during month one. And some prices have gone up. They're going to pay the money to the rural elites because the rural elites are making corn and wool. They're the landowners. And so the rural elites get the money at the end of month one, and they spend it in month two. And they got to pay the commoners, right? So the commoners get the money last after all the prices have gone up. So anytime you see zero, we're talking about financiers. So this row corresponds to financiers. Same here, and same here. When T equal 1, we're talking about merchants. So this row corresponds to merchants, 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 and merchants. Row 2 are the rural elites. Row 3 are the commoners. And then by month 4, this slug of money that was found in the form of gold has made its way through the economy. Now, the quantity theory of money ignores that. It just observes the money being found, and then sometime later, its effects are measured and felt. So it's ignoring these intermediate steps. The simplifying assumptions in the model require some explanation. First, the units of real estate, luxuries, and staples are chosen so that one unit of each has the same price. To illustrate, consider the following. If land is 50 pounds sterling per acre, a gold ring costs 100 pounds sterling per ring. Feeding a family costs 10 pounds per month. There are 10 families in each neighborhood. We could change the units from 1 acre to 2 acres, from 1 family per month to 10 families per month. Changing the units means we can create a uniform price where it's always 100. So land, for example, is 100 pounds per 2 acres. Rings are still 100 pounds each, and the cost to feed a neighborhood is 100 pounds per month. And this is going to be modeled in row 24. This will be 100, this will be 100, and this will be 100. The substitution constant 146 in B10 needs some explanation. Unlike the quantity of real estate, which remains at 4,300 units from month 0 to month 4, because homes can't be built in 4 months. So we're holding real estate constant at 4,300. On the other hand, if financiers are getting the money first, and staples are a small portion of their income, what are they going to do with their income? Well, they're going to either buy real estate or they're going to buy luxuries. If they're buying real estate's fixed. Whatever the quantity of real estate is whatever the quantity of real estate is over those 4 months. Producers can sense that demand for luxuries is a lot higher. So they're going to switch from making staples to making luxuries. Because financiers who get the money first, they're going to want luxuries. This substitution constant 146 of my model represents the trade-off when resources are shifted from staples to luxuries. Unlike the quantity of real estate, which, as I said, remains constant at 4,300 units from month 0 to month 4, the inputs for producing consumer goods must be divided between staples and luxuries. The manufacturers of consumer goods can make staples, or they can make luxury goods. As a result, when producers in my model make 146 more units of luxury goods, they have to make 146 fewer units of staples. But it just represents the trade-off. You can't make more staples and make more luxuries at the same time. We have to model a trade-off in there. Now, with the worksheet formatted like it is over here, all the numbers from the table down here have been inserted. The cells have been color-coded. Now we can enter the formulas. I created a list of formulas right here that you'll need to enter into each cell. To view the formulas, just click on this plus inside the square brackets. So in cell E13, equals sum B13, C13, and D13, and you just press enter. Now it equals 1, right? Because this is a distribution. All distributions add up to 1. 71% of a financier's income is spent on real estate, 25% is spent on luxuries, and 4% is spent on staples for a total of 100%, right? You can type these formulas in manually, or you can just drag them down. Because all we're doing with these 4 cells is we're just summing these rows that are to the left of it, right? So we're summing that, and all these should equal 1. If they don't all equal 1, then there's a mistake in the corresponding row. So if this equals 1.1, then there's a mistake here, here, or here, and you just double check your work. That shouldn't be the case because you copied this in from the table, right? B18, we're going to type equal B6. That inserts 4,300 into the real estate cell. That corresponds to month 0, 4,300. We're going to do the same for C18, luxury goods, and we're going to do the same for staples. And then we're going to sum those 3. And what we can do is we can just copy this and paste it here. So those 3 numbers sum to 12,900, which should be the same number as that. Now in cell B19, what do we want to type? B19, we want to type B18. Why? Because we're holding the quantity of real estate constant. In C19, we want to type C18 plus B10, the substitution constant. The financiers got this big bag of gold. It passed through their hands. They're using it to buy luxury goods. So they're bidding up the price of luxuries, which causes producers of consumer goods to switch from staples to luxuries. And we're using the substitution constant. In cell D19, we're going to take that and we're going to subtract off the substitution constant. Because again, producers are switching from making staples to making luxuries. Because in the short run, resources are constrained. D19 says D18 minus B10. And then this is just the sum, correct? That's kind of cool that it just popped up like that. If I drag this row down, what's going to happen? The blue box gets dragged down, but the red box will be dragged down as well. I want the red box to remain constant. I want the row to remain in 10. So I'm going to put a dollar sign in front of the 10. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to put a dollar sign in front of the 10 because I don't want the row to change. And putting a dollar sign in front of a number means that row remains constant. Let's go ahead and drag that down. The overall total doesn't change because no matter how much money the financier has, and then the merchant has, and then the rural elite has, and then the commoner has, no matter how much money they have, real estate remains at 4,300. The demand for luxuries rises because the financier has this big chunk of money in month 0. Producers switch to luxuries. As they switch to luxuries, they produce increasingly more luxuries and fewer staples. Overall production remains at 12,900. We're holding output constant, which is fine in a short-term model. We're talking within the year. In cell B24, remember that these are the prices. And B24, B9, C24, B9, and D24, B9. Because remember, we created these indices. And in the base year, the index is 100. So the price remained constant at 100 pounds sterling per unit for months prior to the injection of this new money. So all these prices are 100. The prices of these goods haven't had a chance to go up yet because the effect of the money hasn't been felt yet. In B31, we're going to do equal B4, the new money that's injected into the economy, times B13. The financiers get the money first in month 0. And 71% of their income goes to real estate. So we're going to multiply this new money. 71% of this new money goes to real estate, and financiers get it first. And then we're going to multiply that by B24. B24 is the price of real estate. And then we're going to divide that by B9, price all the months before the discovery of this gold. So this divided by that is just 1 because it's 100 in period t equals 0, right? It's 100. And then it's 100 in all months before t equals 0 because we had no injection of money. So this is just a fancy way of saying 1. And this is just saying of that new money that was injected into the economy, financiers are going to spend 71% on real estate. That's all that means. And I get 54,954. So real estate expenditures increase by 54,954 as a result of this new money being injected into the economy. What about C31? C31 is the same thing, but we're multiplying it by C13 and C24. So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and copy this. I'm going to paste it right here, then I'll modify it. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're multiplying this new money injected into the economy by the 25%. Because a financier is going to spend 25% of their money, which has increased by 77,400. They're going to spend it on luxuries. And the price of luxuries in month t equals 0 is 100. The price of luxuries in the preceding months was 100. So that's what that is. Then we're going to press enter. And we're going to do the same thing for staples, except instead of using C13 and C24, we're going to use D13 and D24. So here we got this new slug of money coming through. 4% of it's going to be spent on staples. The price in all months leading up to the current month, it was 100. In month 0, it is 100. When we add these three things up, we get 77,400, which is that value. Now, what about B36? Multiplying B18 times B24. So we're just taking the quantity times the price. That's our expenditures. And we can drag that across. C36, D36. We're just multiplying C18 times C24. D36, we're multiplying D18 times D24. And then E36, we're summing. Equal sum. Now we're aggregating our total expenditures. Total expenditures on real estate, luxuries, and staples. In B37, we're going to add the increase in expenditures on real estate to what we spent the previous period. So we're going to add this value to that value to get our new real estate expenditures. Had there not been a change in the money supply, that would have continued at 430,000. Each of these would have continued at 430,000, and the aggregate would have remained at 1.29 million. However, the new money allowed financiers to increase their purchases by 54,954 in the real estate market. So we got to add this to what they spent the previous month. So I'm going to change this to that plus this increase in real estate expenditures. Then I'm going to drag this across. Because of this new money, total spending has gone up as a result of having a lot more money floating around in the economy, which came from a discovery of gold in some colonial mine. In cell B25, I want to take B37 and I want to divide it by B19, the quantity. As a result of the slug of money going through the economy, one sector at a time, causes real estate prices to rise from 100 to 112.78. Now I should be able to just drag this across. C25 is C37 divided by C19. Total spending on luxuries divided by the quantity of luxuries. And the quantity of luxuries has gone up because what a financier is going to do with all that new money? They're going to buy luxury goods. So again, producers are switching from staples to luxuries. And then what happened to the price of staples? D25 is D37 divided by D19. So total spending on staples divided by the quantity of staples. So the price of staples has gone up. So although the supply of luxuries has gone up, the price has gone up because the demand increase is relatively stronger than the increase in supply. The price of staples goes up because when things get more scarce, if you hold demand constant, the price goes up. Staples demand is going to be pretty stable because people need food and water and milk and whatnot to survive each day. But the supply has gone down from 4,300 to 4,154. In cell B32, we need to write what? We need to multiply B4, the amount of new money injected, by B14. Because now this money is going through the hands of the merchants. And merchants spend 56% of their income on real estate. Then we're going to multiply that by the price that they have to pay for the real estate, which is in B25. Remember, they get the money after the prices have gone up. And we're divide that by the price that previously prevailed, which is in B24. And that gives the increase in expenditures that merchants partake in. Now we got to do C32. So again, we're just going to copy this formula. I'm going to paste it here. Then I'm going to change these two to the C column. So B4 is the injection of the money, the new money that was injected in the economy. They spend 33% of it on luxuries. The price of luxuries is 101.068. It was 100. So this is the expenditure changes for merchants purchasing luxuries. And then I'll do the same thing for staples. Again, these are merchants. Merchants get the money second. So we need to move this over to the price of staples in month 0. We need to move this over to the price of staples in month 1. And then merchants spend 11% of their income on staples. So the new money that comes through is now hitting the merchants, and 11% of it goes to staples. The price is 104.26. It was 100. So that's the increase in merchants' expenditures in month 2. We did cells C32 and D32. Now we need to do cell B38. In B38, we're taking B37 plus the increase in real estate, B32. And we're going to drag this across. Limit the number of decimal places. Then we're going to sum those. Notice the aggregate expenditure has increased. So we've gotten B38, C38, D38, then we've summed B38, D38, and C38. Now we need to go to cell B26. Now we got to calculate the prices in cell B26. Now if I drag this down, let's see if it works. So in B26, we have B38 divided by B20. Why? Because the real estate quantity is fixed, and we're dividing that into how much we're spending on real estate in month 2. That ratio gives us the price of real estate. So we should be able to just drag this across. And I'm going to limit the decimal places to 2 for all these prices. I'll do the same thing here. Limit the decimal places to 2. And then the same goes down here. So we've taken care of D26. Now we need to go to B33. In B33, I'm just going to drag this down and I'm going to fix the cell. In B33, we have B4. So I'm going to drag this up to B4. Then I got B15 times B26 divided by B25. Now in this one, this money is now passing through rural elites. 50% of that goes to real estate. But the prices, by the time the rural elites get the money, the prices have increased to 124.15. And they were the previous month 112.78. So prices have risen here. I'm going to press enter now. And I'm going to drag this across once, and I'm going to fix it. So C33 is B4. Move this back over to B4. B4 is the amount of money that the rural elites are now getting. And 35% of their income goes to luxuries. So we're multiplying this times that. But the prices went from 101.07 last month to 103.48 this month. This ends up being the increase in what rural elites spend on luxuries. And then finally for staples, we got to drag this over for staples. We double click on it. These two prices are fine because the price of staples went from 104.26 to 110.27. 15% of the money that they received in month 2 is going to be spent on staples. So we have D15 times B4 times D26 divided by D25, the ratio of month 2's price over month 1's price. So the increase in their expenditures on staples is 12,279.54. Now we're going to add the expenditures from period 2 to the increase in expenditures in period 3. And then we're going to drag this across. And then we're going to sum these. So let's just double check to make sure we did this right. In cell B39, we're adding B38 to B33. In cell C39, we're adding C38 and C33. In cell D39, we're adding B38 and D33. And then finally, we're just summing these three numbers to get total aggregate expenditures. We've done the sum in E39. Now we need to go to B27. B27 is the price of real estate. So we take the total spending on real estate in that month, B39, and we divide it by the quantity, which would be B21, because we're in month 3, right? So the price of real estate has now been bid up to 134.06. Then I can just drag that across. So the price of luxuries is how much we spent on luxuries in month 3 divided by the quantity of luxuries, which keeps going up because this money's working itself through the system. And as it does, demand for luxuries is higher than it would be otherwise. And the increase in demand is higher than the increase in supply, which results in higher and higher prices. And then for staples, the demand is probably the same, but the supply is a lot lower. So we take the expenditures here, the total expenditures in month 3, you take those total expenditures, divide by the quantity that is supplied, and we end up with a higher price. Again, because the demand is probably pretty stable, but supply keeps falling because producers are making luxuries, more and more luxuries, and fewer staples. Okay, so that means D27 has been calculated. We can go down to B34. In cell B34, we have B4, which is the slug of money that's been going through the economy. It is 77,400. The commoners get hold of the money. And how much of this money goes to real estate purchases made by commoners? Only 1%. The price is in cell B27. That's the price they pay now. The price was 124.15. So real estate expenditures don't go up much in month 4 because only 1% of commoners' spending is on real estate. Now I'm going to drag this across and we'll fix the equation. We're going to drag this back to 77,400. 14% of this money goes to luxury purchases. The luxury price is 106.14. It was 103.48. Commoners increased their expenditures on luxuries by $11,115 in month 4. Most of the money for commoners goes to staples. 85% of that 77,400 in new money is spent on staples. Staples are now priced at 117.62 per unit. It was 110.27 per unit. So this is the increase in commoners' expenditures on staples. Okay, so we've gotten through D34. Now we need to go to B40. B40, what expenditures were, plus the increase in expenditures from the previous month. And we're going to drag that across. And then we're going to sum it. I'm going to drag this down to sum it. Expenditures were in month 3, that amount, That was the increase in expenditures. Not very much because, again, commoners only spend 1% of their money on real estate. Expenditures were 502,900 in the previous month. The increase in luxury good purchases, 11,115. Spending on staples was 454,252 the previous month, plus the increase in staples of 70,174.12. And total expenditure increased from 1.5 million to 1.6 million. Okay, so now we're done with E40. Now we go to B28. Now we got to calculate the prices. So again, the prices are what we spent in that month. We spent a total of that divided by the quantity, 4,300. We do that for the other 3 months. So we got D28 done. Now we need to calculate E24. E24 is the price level that includes all categories. So to get the price level, we're going to take some product and let me make this wider here. B24 to D24, comma, B18 to D18. So what we're doing here is we're taking the price of real estate, we're multiplying it by its quantity, 4,300. And we're going to add to that the price of luxuries times 4,300. And then we're going to add to that the price of staples times 4,300. That's what some product does here. Some product is you first calculate products, 100 times 4,300, 100 times 4,300, 100 times 4,300, and then you add them up. The last thing we want to do in E24 is close the parenthesis and then divide that by overall total, E18. And we're going to press enter. And I get 100. You can think of this as the price index for real estate, the price index for luxuries, the price index for staples, and this is the overall price index. I'm going to drag it down to see if it works, if the formula agrees with that. When I double click on it, I get this price times 4,300 plus this price times 4,446 plus 104.26 times 4,154. And then I'm dividing it by this overall total. And I get 106. Now I'm gonna use 2 decimal places here. And then I'll drag it down again. I'll go ahead and drag it all the way down. So in this final price index, overall price index, I had the sum product of these 3 and those 3 divided by the overall total, which is 125.25. Now I want to come down here. I'm in cell B42. In B42, I want to take B28 minus B24 and divide that by B24. So I'm going to type equal the difference of B28 minus B24, which is 100. And I'm going to divide that by B24. I'm going to press enter. I'm going to change it to percent because it's the percent change. I'm going to add 2 decimal places. Then I'm going to drag it across. Then we'll double check. C42 is C28 minus C24 divided by C24. So again, that difference divided by C24. And it's in percentages with 2 decimal places. Staples, percent change in prices, is in D42, and it equals D28 minus D24 divided by D24. D28 minus D24 divided by D24 in percentages. For the overall inflation rate, I'm going to take, for E42, I'm going to take E28. I'm going to subtract off E24, and then divide that by E24 to get that inflation rate. And then I'll convert it into a percent with 2 decimal places. So the overall inflation rate is 25.25%. Staples went up 41.13%. Luxuries only went up 5.24%. Real estate went up 34.25% in the 4 months. So now we're done with E42. Now we got to go to E43. In E43, we're going to type equal B4, which is the increase in the money supply. So this is what the money supply increased by, divided by what it was at the beginning of the period. And we'll convert that into percentages with 2 decimal places. So in B47, we're going to type B3, which is the initial money supply. In C43, we're going to add B3 and B4. B3 plus B4. And the percent change is just final minus initial divided by initial. 23.7%. These two are the same. So D47 is just C47 minus B47 divided by B47. B48 is B9. B48 is B9, the initial price level before the injection of money. C48 is E28, 125.25. And then the percent change, we can just pull this down. The percent change in the price level is just C48 minus B48 divided by B48, converted into a percentage, and then 2 decimal places. B49 is real GDP. To calculate real GDP, we need to multiply prices times quantities. So we're going to do the sum product here. Equal sum product. Array 1 is B18 to D18. B18 to D18. Those are the quantities in month 0 before the effects of the money. And then we need the prices from B24 to D24. B24 to D24. So what's going on here is, again, we're taking the products, we're multiplying 100 times the 4,300, 100 times the 4,300, 100 times the 4,300, and then we're summing those. So 100 times 4,300 plus 100 times 4,300 plus 100 times 4,300. So the prices in this month 0 are all 100, and the quantities are all 4,300. And we get a real GDP level of 1.29 million. In C49, we're going to take the sum product of the quantities in B22 to D22, and we're going to multiply them by the corresponding number of the corresponding price in B24 to D24. I'm going to copy this formula. I'm going to paste it right here. I'm going to go up here to where it's at. So this is the real GDP in month 0, before the money supply hit the system. We have output valued in base year prices. We're going to keep the prices each at 100 because this is our base period. We're going to change the outputs to what they are in the final month of feeling the effects of this new money working its way through the economy. So we have B22 to D22, comma, B24 to D24. In both these GDP calculations, we're holding the prices constant, but we're changing the outputs. So we're holding the prices constant, but changing the output. And we get no real GDP growth. Drag this down to get the percent change in GDP growth. C49 minus B49 divided by B49 in cell D49. So we get no change in real GDP. What about nominal GDP? Initial nominal GDP, B50, sum product of B18 to B24. I pasted the formula that I copied from B49 into C49, which I then modified. I copied that same formula into B50 because what we're doing here is we're valuing month 0's output in month 0's prices. And we get the same as we got there. because I'm using the same set of prices and the same set of outputs. Now I'm going to calculate the nominal GDP, the final nominal GDP, and the final nominal GDP is in cell C50. In C50, it's B22 to D22, comma, B28 to D28. I want output valued not in base year prices, but in current year prices. So we're valuing this at the 140.25. We're valuing this at 105.24. And we're valuing this at 141.13. And then we're adding those up. And we get a nominal GDP level of $1.62 million. The percent change in nominal GDP is what? It's found by doing what? Taking what it is, $1.62 million, subtracting off what it was, 1.29, and then divide by what it was, 1.29, and then reporting that as a percentage, 25.25. And notice that inflation equals the increase in nominal GDP because there is no change in real GDP. So we've calculated D50, C50 minus B50 divided by B50, but reported it as a percentage. Now we want to calculate B52. To calculate B52, we're going to take B49, initial GDP. We're going to multiply that by B48, the price level, and then we're going to divide that by B47, the money supply. So what is this? Well, M times V equals P times Y. That's the equation of exchange. This is P times Y. This on the left-hand side is V, and we just divided both sides of this equation by the quantity of money. And then we got to divide by 100. Because the price level is always reported in percentages, so when you see 100 there, it's actually 1. So we have to divide that by 100. The initial velocity is 3.95. B11 is equal to B52, so we'll go up here to B11. It's already equal to 3.95, right? So we're good there. What about B53? The price level, B53, is equal to B47, money, times B52, the velocity. So this is M times V, divided by B49, real GDP. So this is the equation of exchange, P times Y equal M times V, but we've divided through by Y. And we get a price level equal to 1, but we have to multiply that by 100, and we get 100. To get D52, we have to do equal C52 minus B52 divided by B52 converted to a percent. This answer is incorrect because we have to know what the green box is first, and we're going to come back to that. C53 is C47 times C52, which we don't know yet, divided by C49 times 100. This answer is going to be incorrect as well. And then D53 is going to be C3 minus B53 divided by B53. And again, that's going to be wrong because we don't have the velocity yet. The absolute value of D53 minus E42 is going to be incorrect because we don't know this yet. Now, to verify accuracy, copy the values from the spreadsheet to this table below. So let's do that. I'm going to come back up here to the top. I'm going to type 1 into here, 1 into there, 1 into there, 1 into there. I'm going to press enter to make sure I'm getting them correct. For quantities supplied, I want to plug 4,300 into here, 4,300 into here, 4,300 into here, and then 12,900 here. Now I'm going to put the video on pause, enter all these values in my table, press submit to see if I did the work correctly. Okay, welcome back. I've entered all my numbers for my spreadsheet in. I've gotten green check marks everywhere, so I should really feel good about myself. Now I'm entering the percent change in real estate prices. Notice I include the percent symbol. If I hit enter, it's marked wrong. Why? Because it says percent, so I don't need to include the percent symbol. So I'm going to delete the percent symbol and just type 34.25, and it should be correct. I'm going to pause the video, and then I'll return when the rest of the table is filled in. Welcome back. All the rows are complete except for 2. I got green check marks everywhere. Up here, I don't have any percent symbols. And then down here, I don't have any percent symbols. Why? These are percentages. So this right here, percent change, means 23.7%. 25.25%, 0%, 25.25%. Same thing up here because we have percent change in prices, percent change in money. We don't need the percent symbols. Now down here for velocity, I have 3.95 for the velocity in the initial period in month zero. I have a price level of 100. These last five answer boxes in our table to run goal seek. Goal seek is a really cool feature. To run goal seek, you need to click on cell E53 right here. I'm going to move this over just a little bit and then go to the data tab on Excel ribbon. So the data tab, click the what if analysis and then click on goal seek. Ensure E53 appears in the set cell box. Type 0 into the to value box and then click on C52, the green box here. That's the by changing cell box. And then click OK. I'm going to click on this cell, hold down the control button, click on that cell, and then click on that cell. I'm going to change the number, and then I'm going to make sure the decimal places are set at 2. So GoalSeek came up with a velocity of 4 to make this percent change equal that percent change. Scroll down here to the bottom of my table in the lesson. I'm going to slide this over and enter the values. This value is 0.00. This value is 1.26%. This value is 25.25%. This is 125.25. And the velocity is 4.00. Then I'm going to press enter. And it looks like I get everything in the table correct. I'm going to use my Excel model to answer the following questions. Create a line chart with prices B23 to E28 on the y-axis versus time A23 to A28 on the x-axis. So we got A23 down to A28 out to E23 to E28. I'm going to click on Insert. I'm going to go to Recommended Charts. I'm going to click on this line chart. Click OK. Right click on the Y-axis, Format Axis. I'm going to start it at, we'll go 90. I'm going to close that out. So overall, price level is this yellow line. Real estate is the blue line. Luxuries is the orange line. And staples is the gray line. Staples were tracking overall inflation quite well until we go from period 3 to period 4. In period 4, the price level jumps up to 141. It looks like the blue line is suggesting there's a price bubble in real estate. And if no more money is injected, this bubble is going to burst, kind of like in 2008, 2009. Here's an example of what it should look like. I'm going to change the title to the Cantillon effect with one-time injection of money. Reduce the font size on the subtitle to, I don't know, 10. You could move your legend if you want to, and then just squeeze it. So it looks like that's pretty good there. I'll go ahead and click that minus to make it go away. You want to upload your file here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this. I'm going to copy, and then somewhere else in the spreadsheet, I'll right click, paste as picture. I'm going to hit Control X. I'll open up Word. I wish there was an easier way to do this. I'm going to paste it right here. Then in Word, I can save it as a picture, and I'll just put it on my desktop temporarily. And I'll save it as Cantillon effect. And I'll click Save. Then I can upload my file or open up the desktop, and then should be able to find the picture. There it is. It's a PNG file. Click on Cantillon effect. And then I should be able to click on that and press enter. I can check to make sure it's uploaded by clicking that plus. I'm going to right click on this and move it to a new worksheet called Chart 1. So there's my Cantillon effect, and here's my spreadsheet. I'm going to use a spreadsheet to answer the questions over here. Using the one-time injection of money, financiers were able to buy real estate before the prices rose. The price was 100 in month 0 and all prior months. The new money permeated all economic sectors by month 4, raising the real estate price to what? By month four, it had worked through all sectors of the economy and had pushed the price of real estate up to 134.25. You want to use your numbers, right? 134.25. An increase in the value of financiers' real estate holdings by what? Real estate increased from 100 to 134.25. So the financiers bought the real estate in month zero at the price of 100 and held it through month four, which resulted in a 34.25% increase in their real estate holdings. A nice return on their money, correct? They buy it for 100 and it's worth 134.25. After receiving the additional money from transactions with financiers, merchants purchase real estate in month what? Merchants purchase things in month one with that new money. They buy it for 112.78 in month one. Their investment increased by what percent? So we'll come down here. By month four, real estate had risen to 134.25, but when they purchased it, they had to pay the price of 112.78. So we're going to calculate this percent change going from 112.78 to 134.25. They don't get to purchase it at the same time as financiers. So the merchants buying in month one, holding through month four, they see a 19.04% increase in their investment. We don't need the percent symbol because it says percent. After receiving the additional money from transactions with merchants, real elites purchase real estate in month two. Instead of pricing it in month one prices, we're going to price it in month two prices. So now we're going from 124.15 to 134.25. So the percent changes from month two to month four. Press enter. So by the time it had spread across all sectors, the investment increased by just 8.14%. They didn't get the money until month two, and zero to month one prices increased. From month one to month two, prices increased. So they're buying at a higher price than what merchants and financiers purchased at. After receiving the additional money from transactions with rural elites, commoners purchased real estate in month three. When commoners purchased the real estate in month three, the price was 134.06, not 124.15. So now we're doing the percent change in these two numbers. Their investment will increase by 0.14%. To calculate these price increases, down here in rows 56 to 60, I have real estate prices increasing from month 0 to 1. That is equal to 112 minus 100. B25 minus B24 is the increase in real estate price from month 0 to 1. It equals 12.78. If I drag this down to here, row 60, I get the price increase from month 1 to 2, the price increase from month 2 to 3, and the price increase from month 3 to 4. Let's just double check that. So B26 minus B25 is the price increase from month 1 to month 2. B27 minus B26 is the price increase from month 2 to 3. And then B28 minus B27 is the price increase from month 3 to month 4. So with real estate prices increasing 12.78 pounds from month 0 to 1 and 11.37 pounds from month 1 to 2 and 9.91 pounds from month 2 to 3 and just 0.19 pounds from month 3 to 4, it looks like the housing bubble created by the one-time injection of money appears to be, it hasn't burst yet. It's not accelerating rapidly because it's slowing. Looks like it's on the verge of popping. So let me press enter. Leaders of the guilds and the villages would set wages for a set number of months. So in this example, we're assuming that these wage rates were set for 6 months when the economy was stable, before the money was injected into it. So for a commoner working for such a guild, their wage rates would have increased by 0% over the period, because we're talking about a 4-month period versus the longer 6-month period where wages were frozen. So their wages would have increased by 0% over the period it took the one-time injection of money to work its way through the economy. Meanwhile, prices of staple goods did what? prices of staple goods increased by 41.13% in my model. I got that from part 7, the summary. Under the staples column, the percent change in the prices was 41.13%. Let me press enter to see if I got it right. If incomes were at subsistence levels, with commoners working 70 hours a week, around 70 was typical at the time, they would have needed to up hours worked to what each week? So if they were working 70 hours before the inflation and their wages didn't keep up and staples increased by 41.13%, then they would have had to increase their hours worked by 70 times 1 plus the increase in staples. They need to increase their work hours to 98.79 hours per week. The total amount of time in a week is 24 hours a day times 7 days per week. So there's 168.00 hours available in a week. This would have left him with 69.21 hours for sleep, church, and leisure. If we divide that into 7, on the average day of the week, they'd only have 9.89 hours for sleep, church, and leisure. Gathering water, keeping the fire going, and cooking all day long. From month 0 to month 4, the money supply increased by 23.7%. I have that here, and I have it here, so I can just copy it from here. And that caused the price level to increase by what? The price level increased by 25.25%. If you look at the difference between the growth in the price level and the growth in the money supply, it's 1.55%, which is approximately equal to the change in velocity. So I think the best answer would be velocity increasing by 1.26%. It aligns with the quantitative theory of money and Cantillon's monetary theory. I would say both, because in the quantitative theory of money, a one-time injection of money going through the economy, it doesn't show anything between that point and when that money has worked its way through the economy. Whereas the Cantillon's monetary theory understands that, but also looks at the beneficiaries at each stage that the money is translated from one sector to the next. For the remainder of the answers, pick the one that you think is the best choice. If you get it marked wrong, don't change it. Come to my Zoom office hours and we'll discuss it so you get 100% on these.